My name is Chris Lomen, and when one of my dogs passed away 7 years ago, I went to where I thought everybody went to, a dog store, and saw a cute doggie in the window and had to have Allie, and never ever even gave it a second thought where dogs in a pet store come from until somebody was asking me, and her name's Mary Leahy. I ran into her one day when I had Allie out for a walk, and that's when I found out what puppy mills were.
Mary Leahy. I am the founder of Iowa Friends of Companion Animals and Iowa Voters for Companion Animals. A puppy mill, the definition is very subjective. It depends on who you ask. One of my favorite definitions is any kennel that keeps so many dogs for the sole purpose of breeding that those dogs' needs are not being met. They're social, they're physical, they're psychological. If you've got so many dogs that you're not able to meet all those needs, it's a puppy mill.
It was all just a shock to me that Allie didn't come from a grandma and grandpa home environment with two other dogs that had puppies.
You'll find dogs in small cages in most of them. The USDA requirements are such that the cage only has to be 6 inches longer than the dog. The bottoms of the cages are typically wire also, so that the feces and urine falls through, but it hurts their little feet.
She was just trapped in a cage for her first 8 weeks of her life. Just didn't physically have the exercise on her legs.
When someone walks into the place, you can imagine what you're likely going to hear. Just a cacophony of barking. And unfortunately, some breeders participate in a practice called debarking, where they do something to the dog's vocal cords so that they can't bark. And some of those procedures are as archaic and barbaric as simply ramming a rod down the dog's throat to sever or damage the vocal cords. So sometimes a puppy mill is stone cold silent. And I have a hard time describing the smell. It's not like a smell I've ever smelled before. It doesn't smell like a lot of dog poop. It smells worse than that. I've been told by one veterinarian that probably what you're smelling when you go into these facilities are the stress hormones from the animals.
2 years ago, when I was in there shopping, the owner of the pet store specifically asked me, "How's the potty training with Allie?" And I said, "Well, impossible." And he said, "Well, that's typical." Now today, I said something about, I just can't figure out why Allie won't get potty trained. And he said, "Well, that's an exception for that breed. They're highly intelligent," which is just the opposite of what he told me a couple of years ago.
The puppies coming out of puppy mills very often do have some issues, behavioral in particular, such as separation anxiety. They very often, it's hard to house train them. If their mothers are psychologically damaged, the puppies don't learn it from their mothers. There's also lots of congenital problems that come up, hip dysplasias, orthopedic problems, things that are more from the inbreeding, a lot of parasites, and the puppies are very susceptible.
I've been lucky. Allie's been pretty healthy, although when I was playing with her, they kept saying, "Be careful with her, her legs might break," and she couldn't stand up on her own.
And the adult dogs, if the breeder gets rid of the adult dogs by handing them over to rescues, you end up with dogs like my Eddie, who he pretty much just wants to sit in my lap or sit in a corner. He's not a normal dog. But the fact of the matter is, most adult dogs, when the breeder is done with them, they simply kill them.
The more I find out about it, it's definitely it's just all business. It's really sad because people like me, I mean, they're just after a dog to be a part of the family.
But there are good breeders and there are bad breeders, and these are bad breeders, and we're working to change it because the bad breeders undercut the good breeders.
They're inhuman. They're strictly a business, and they do not have a heart. And people who buy dogs have a heart. They want a dog to love, but we're buying from people who are out for profit, and that's wrong.
absolutely never, ever, ever, ever buy a puppy without visiting the kennel and seeing where the mother lives.
So do I stop buying dogs so people don't make a profit? That's tough. I gotta have a dog, so where do I go?